We need first off approve the minutes for the May 15th meeting if everyone's had an opportunity to look those over. Have a motion for approval on those?
So moved.
Second.
Is any discussion? If not, all in favor of approving those minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not, those are approved as written. And then Cheryl's not here today, but Sherry has a financial update for us, I believe.
Yes. So in front of you, you should have the financial statement. And Cheryl went through after last month's meeting. At last month's meeting on our percentage of budget used, we were over 100% on a few items, and that was as a result of things being miscategorized in the budget. So she went through and moved like cleaning supplies into where it should have been, cleaned up the budget. And so we're still looking very good. We're at 67% of our income, 65.6% of our expenses in our 8th month. The only, the brick engraving expenses are up, but that's because we sold more brick, so that's a good issue to have. If you go all the way down under visitor services to servicing and events, we're at 118.1% expenditure, and that is reflective of that money that we gave to the Bluegrass Festival. We were just counting on finding that money in what we didn't spend in insurance or in other things, so it doesn't have a category for it. So that is what is putting that, it doesn't account for that whole amount, obviously. But we have had a lot of just upfront startup costs in a lot of our servicing this year, so we probably underestimated that amount in the line item. So at this point, I'll answer any questions that y'all might have.
We've covered this term before, but we have enough play in our budget where if everything goes as normal, it'll kind of work itself back into, being on target. I mean, these are just anomalies of like you're taking a snapshot, and we're at 118% now, but perhaps 2 weeks from now or a month from now, it would just, if everything went along as usual without making any cost-cutting measures, it could even out.
It could, a more likely scenario will be that we will find excess and move funds over to cover that so that it balances, and then use that information in building out the next fiscal year, yeah.
The only thing I remember hanging out there was maybe some money collection from my hotel.
That has, to my understanding, that has been satisfied, and so we should be fine. There's also some legislation that was out there that I'm waiting on confirmation of that would take into effect September 1 on the standardized collection of local hotel occupancy tax from short-term rentals, just like they do for the state taxes, the Airbnb and the Vrbo's. Those platforms pay in advance the state taxes for the properties that are listed with them. There was legislation in this past session that would have the same thing go through for the local collection as well, which is what we are hoping did in fact pass, just because it, especially for a smaller community like us, it takes the burden of collection, and those are such quick turn. I mean, you could literally wake up one morning and by the end of that day, we signed up with Airbnb, and we just don't have the staff citywide or within the CVB or the meetings really, even to keep on top of.
And collect that money.
Yeah.
Collecting money costs money.
Well, collecting money, but educating them on, this is the process before you, that it's more than just signing up with Airbnb. You have to register with the city, and this is the collection schedule for this. And so there's a whole educational component for those people that they don't even know exists. So it's a lot.
That will all happen naturally.
Yeah. So what we're hoping, and I believe that I have a call into THLA, the Texas Hotel and Lodging Association, to confirm, but my understanding was that bill did pass, and like I said, that would take into into effect September 1. But we do already have 5 short-term rental properties that are,
Compliant.
yeah, they're compliant, and we're seeing a fair bit. We still only receive the 72.5% of those collections, but it's more than nothing.
And,
Well, 72% is not bad. We only have,
No, it's good.
only have 20% to go.
that sounds good.
There you go. Okay, so any other questions about the financials? Yeah, we'll move forward on the agenda to the items for discussion, budget and strategic planning. City Council meeting before last, City Council approved a cost of living increase for city staff, and we are contracted employees of the city, so it did factor down to us as well. But as a result, we have to come up with that money. It goes into effect this pay period that we're in, so we'll get a paycheck this Friday where that COLA increase.
Well, congratulations, everyone.
Thank you. So-
A raise is always good news.
A raise?
Even
You
if
would
it's a
think.
COLA raise, yeah.
You'd think it would be good news until you realize that you've already set your budget last year. And so we have, what we need to vote on at this point is the approval of coming up with the money to satisfy that COLA increase, because we do have the pay periods that remain in this fiscal year. So what that amounts to is $2,161 in salaries, $165 in Social Security and Medicare, and then $329 paid into the TMS system, for a total that we need to approve is $2,655.
For what,
That will take us through the end of this fiscal year. And then when we build out our budget for the next fiscal year, that increase will be,
Built in.
it'll be built in. But for now, this is just the overlap of what we didn't, nobody knew that this increase was coming. So we're in the same boat as NEDCO and the rest of the city. When council approved that increase, we've all sort of had to.
we'll find it.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a problem. There's, I think there's money to be found again. It's just that where it is, it's not clearly there for money in case of impromptu customer.
So we need to vote on a motion to approve the search for those funds within our budget.
We need to approve the expenditure of $2,655 to satisfy.
I make a motion that we approve that expenditure.
We'll have a second. Any discussion? I don't see how, I mean, the city council's already voted on it.
Right,
I don't
exactly.
think we could or should,
No.
do anything else.
Yeah,
So.
we need to just push that on.
Right. So, all in favor of this 2,655 really adjustment to our salary? Any opposed?
Okay, thank you. And the second part of that is not an action item, so there's no decision that needs to be made. But we're in the season of our fiscal year where it's time to look at strategic planning. So in July, staff will assemble and do our strategic planning and our proposed budget to present to the board. So we'll do that in July, so that means in August and September, the board here will need to meet to hear staff's recommendation on strategic planning and make any contributions, adjustments, or anything like that. So what that will look like in my mind, but it's open for discussion, is for that meeting, my preference would be if that meeting is August.
Would it be a regular meeting?
It would be a meeting at the regularly scheduled time. We'll have staff reports sent out to you. We'll have those done early so that when you receive your agenda, you can go through those reports. So there won't be an in-person reporting from staff. So the entire meeting would just be strategic planning, just going over the strategic plan. So it shouldn't amount in too much more of a time commitment for this meeting. However,
Did we take a half a day at one point? Or
I think we did. I think we wound up leaving.
Like 2 hours or something?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were done by noon, to my
Oh, yeah.
recollection, yeah. And, we've got our marketing plan. Last year, we were instituting a new marketing plan, and we're gonna continue on with we have a knack for that, and it should go a little more smoothly. I don't think there's a lot in play for that strategic plan. It's more just the minutia of, what media buys are we looking at? Are there areas that we want to hit harder than others? What did our analytics show? So it's more of an opportunity to educate on, here's what we did last year and here's the results. Do we stay the course? Do we adjust in any way? So
And it seems like we've been working in, for the last 2 budgets, we've been working in from a place of uncertainty to a place of more certainty. So I expect this will be the easiest of my budget year so far.
I'm knock on wood, plastic. I don't foresee anything big coming up. There has, in the last 2 days, we'll go over Smith Travel Research Report later on in my executive director report. So for January, February, and March, we were, according to Smith Travel, our occupancy was down. In April and May is positive, so it seems like we're correcting, and that's great. However, there was a discrepancy with Pancurvo and finance. Our actual collections, our revenue, we're averaging a loss of about $4,000 a month. March, it's about $12,000. So at this point, we're in danger. If that trend continues, we would be in danger of not making our budget for this year. We're just on incomes. But, and so what I've been doing is trying to chase down the reason for that, because when I do my reporting to community partners, I go off of Smith because they're proven that's an industry standard. That's what everybody's using. So we're trying to find out, and I've received the answer of why there is that discrepancy. I don't understand that. So
Why is there a discrepancy?
even though the Fredonia doesn't report to Smith, they are still a part of our inventory.
Right.
And as such, in the algorithm that Smith uses, so they're not actually looking at revenue they're not looking at a balance sheet
They're
revenue.
looking at revenue that money was generated, we just gave it back to the Fredonia as an incentive for doing business here.
Well, what was explained to me is they assign an aggregate number to those Fredonia statistics that still gets factored into the algorithm that is used for our trend report, even though we rebate all of that money. So, I mean, technically speaking, they pay all of their taxes. It's just for this
We're giving
abatement.
them back to them.
Yeah, for this abatement term, the terms of the abatement that we all agreed to is that they get rebated back to them to a certain degree, but all in lines with the agreement that was set upon. So it's that aggregate number that's throwing off the discrepancy, but there's still a big discrepancy that Smith Travel and I are working on for that month of March, because that line is not indicated even on their report, let alone.
So are we like physically taking in $4,000 less a month?
According to, yeah.
I mean, like what? I mean, that's a lot of hotel rooms.
It's a lot of hotel rooms, and that's where these other things on the trend report come into play, the average daily rate, the revenue per available room. That's where those really come into play. And so are the hotels undercutting one another? Are they lowering their price? Because our occupancy could be high, but if they're lowering the price of their room, then that's lowering our revenue
Right.
that's generated.
Or is one hotel like tagging? Is there? I mean, what's the?
Well,
have you
we
been able
have-
to find any? Have you been able to see exactly what it is, or is it spread out across all of the?
It is a trend across the state, and if John were here, he could confirm that. But it's a nationwide travel recession that we're in right now. There's not a lot of confidence in travel, international or domestic. The political climate has a lot to do with that, and just availability of money. And people are choosing not to spend their disposable
So
income.
we're in a travel recession, right?
According to travel experts, we are at the start of a travel recession that is anticipated to last 3 to 5 years. That's their estimate. For us specifically, we've had 2 hotels lose their flag, and that's always we're going to take a hit for that. We continue to see, the big difference that we're making here, even though our most obvious metric of our success is heads and beds, that hotel occupancy. Our biggest impact for us here is sales tax, because we bring in a lot more day traffic in our tourism than we do with the overnight stay. And the overnight stay that we are bringing in, more times than not, are choosing to stay at the Fredonia. And I don't blame them, I would too.
It's winning all these awards.
Yeah, and it's in Texas Monthly, and
That's right.
it's a beautiful property, and that's not to discount or take away from our other properties. But if you are being more selective in the in spending your personal travel dollars, are you going to go for a travel experience of a mid-century modern, newly renovated
In the
hotel?
long term, we want that traveler. Even if they're not putting money in our coffers today, we want that sophisticated traveler that wants to come here and spend real money to have a real experience.
Yeah. So it's I think it's a plateau that we're in. I absolutely don't think that it's anything that staff isn't doing. I think it's just a state of
It's the market.
what we're doing.
It's the market, it's what the market's doing.
It is, and so we have to look at what we do really well and think of the other opportunities that we have in front of us to compensate for the time being for the lack of hotel occupancy revenue. Can we monetize our blog or our YouTube channel? Is there functionality in that? Can we go more towards ad-driven pieces of collateral to defray the cost of marketing? Might not be something that I personally want to do, but it might be something that we're not given the luxury of being able to say one way or the other, because at the end of the day, we need to continue to promote Nacogdoches as a destination.
Yes. And I'm thinking we're going to experience, there's still net gains to be had. I mean, if we're in a travel recession, then perhaps more people are going to day travel. And we may not see that in the hot tax, but if we see it in the sales tax, then we've still done good by Nacogdoches. It may make our numbers look bad for a year or so, but I can live with that if what we're doing is creating a greater good for our business owners.
Well, and as we change, and Joanna and Stephanie both do great jobs. Stephanie does a great job in marketing and getting the messaging out. Joanna does a great job of finding new groups to bring to us. And as the city sort of comes more on board with new leadership that is more supportive of making the changes, the infrastructure changes that the city needs for sports tourism. So, the lighted fields, that was a great advance. The availability of more fields so that we can bring in, these youth teams that travel. They're not staying at the Fredonia. Those are the ones, those are the groups that we need now. What we need to do is find those groups whose travel preference is to stay at the properties that we have now. So it's just sort of a shift of our focus. I think the Fredonia does a great job selling themselves. We certainly want to be able to highlight it because it is an asset to our tourism landscape. But I think with the continued good efforts put forth by Stephanie and Joanna, I think we'll be able to, in the support of the city, because that's a huge investment on them, and the money is tight with the city as well. But I don't think that we have a hurdle of convincing mayor and council, the importance of those changes, improvements in infrastructure, so that we are able to sell Nacogdoches to those groups that would come in and fill up our other hotel properties.
We're there with our city council.
That's my belief.
Yeah, same with the camera.
Well, I think having this discussion now before our strategic planning is really good too. So when do you think we'll have the reports? You said we have them before the August meeting.
Oh, I was just our staff reports for
Right.
that regular meeting.
Oh, okay.
That we would, so instead of going through this agenda. Our agenda would just be strategic planning.
Okay, so if we had any comments or questions for you about the actual planning, should we get them to you in advance or wait till the August meeting? And what's better for you guys? After staff does our strategic planning, I can go ahead and disseminate that information to the board. And then, I don't know if we can enter into email discussion about it, but at least you would be able to you would have it in advance and we could.
Well, I think we could enter an email discussion, but we could come to y'all one at a time. And
We
ask
can approach
questions.
staff, we just can't approach
We
each other.
we can't talk, we can't be on an email chain with each other talking about it, but we can email y'all about it.
Right.
And that might take care of, that might save some time and save us from going down some wormholes that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, if we get all of the crazy questions out of the way first, then we can just handle just deal with numbers. When do we have to turn it over to city council?
That's in July is when the earliest that we can present our marketing plan and our budget to them for approval. It was August last year when we finally.
Oh, so we're gonna vote on it in
Yeah.
August and then boom.
Yeah, we're gonna be
you're
right up
presenting.
against it.
Okay, I didn't know, I was curious how much time, so we're gonna run tight on it, but we also have a more experienced board, so, with budgets.
That might be a little bit more.
It could be the Kelly's position and Ron's position. I know they're doing those interviews currently for all the vacancies on city boards. So.
Well, thank you for informing us.
Oh, sure.
The only comment I have is I know when the Fredonia opened, we expected the deal. And that didn't happen.
Right.
It did
But
not.
now we're kind of seeing it. So it's just interesting to me, what we were preparing.
That's what I was
for.
thinking.
We got a nice surprise, but now we're kind of experiencing.
It was coming eventually.
And your comments on sports marketing was exactly what was going on. And I know that takes planning. These folks have to be approached well in advance.
Yeah, because those are a 3 to 5 year planning phase
Yeah.
for those bigger tournaments that we would want to draw. But we know that it's feasible. Like it is, if Center can have the World Series,
Yep.
Nacogdoches absolutely can. So it is a matter of getting everybody on the same page at the same time and understanding the importance and the value of it. And I don't think we're far off from that mark at all.
What about with new staff at SFA Athletics? I know he's brought in some new camps now.
He has, and
Can we work with them a little more?
Which one?
with Coach Carthel and Ryan Ivey actually reached out to me earlier, I guess about 2 months ago. And so we will be working more closely with SFA Athletics.
Seems promising.
And staff and I actually spoke yesterday about that. Coach Carthel, I think he brings a tremendous new energy to the football program, and he certainly is one that wants to build up that community incitement and wants his players engaged in the community so that there is that sort of cross-promotional synergy to it. Unfortunately, our home football schedule, this first time out, we don't have a lot of home games that we can really capitalize, but the other side of that same coin is we have a few games that we can try some things, so we can play around with what is really going to work with us, creating some packages to make that SFA experience and really target our alumni with, raise the axe, come back and, see the energy so we can help the football program and the football program can help us. And I think we are well positioned to pursue that. And we just, it's a change of perception. Instead of saying, oh, we don't have a lot of home games, but we do have a few home games that we can try. And sometimes having a smaller field narrows your focus and allows you to get more information than having, a broad landscape to have to, acquire knowledge.
I'm not telling you rabbit holes. I had a great experience at the orientation session last week. And we're seeing parents that come with their kids to their orientation at SFA that are loving Nacogdoches.
Yeah. Sure, I want to hear about
And,
this.
and I don't know how we establish contact with them. I Stephanie's emails, where they're getting the whiskey, wine, brew tours, whatever it might be, whatever seasonal things going on that will entice them, hey, come visit your kid, but look at all this fun you're gonna have, because they're active. They're great fun. So we'll be there Friday.
We saw different trends. We've seen different trends in our student body over the years. Certainly since, I was here. But it's trending back towards a family experience.
Oh, yeah. Right down to the little cousin. I mean,
To see that,
yeah.
I think, that's
amazing.
kind of, I went into it, but.
It's a big orientation, the whole family comes. Really?
Yeah, see, that's different than the way it's been in the past. It seems like there was a decade or so where, we were making our money as a university as more of a not, adult students, commuter students. It seems like there was a 10-year window like that where it became less family oriented.
I talked to him about the football game, tailgating, just anything I could think of to let them know we're happening here.
Good.
It's big.
Well, and Shirley can speak to it as well, but I think, the predominance of our student body is comprised now of this first generation college student. And so there is this real excitement in the family that that whole family can have a college experience with the vehicle of that first generation student. So they're really invested in their success and the opportunities that they would have, and not just engaging with the university, but with the community.
I feel like that's the experience that kind of my parents' generation had in SFA. And then there was a lot of that, in the late 80s and 90s too, which it's just nice when you see, like alumni parents coming back, I wasn't that kind of student really, nor am I that kind of person, but it's good for the community, it's good for the school, and it's good for, it's not good for all of us. So that's exciting.
I'll turn it back over to Mrs. Neal.
Okay. And we have a marketing report from Stephanie.
Just a couple of quick things. Our blog is up and going, our new Visit Nacogdoches blog. We've had 3 community leaders contribute, and so that is out. Ashley Morgan actually wrote a post, and it was shared more than 75 times on Facebook. Huge traffic on that post. It was very compelling about why people who may have lived here previously should come back and see what's new. That blog is now accessible on our website, and we are now having people actually follow it. So it is alive and it's going, and it's being posted bi-weekly. One big project that I'm working on is getting the verbiage together for our idea fair submissions, and that's for the 2019 conference for the Texas Association of CVBs. So we're going to submit and try to show all the good things that we've been doing as far as the knack for that campaign. Last year we won the People's Choice for advertising. So this year we're going to try to do the same thing because it's such a strong campaign. And we're also going to highlight things we've done like the selfie doors, things that we've done that are unique. So that conference is in August. It's the week, I believe it's around August 8th, that following week, Tuesday through Thursday. It's in Denton, Texas this year. So we're going to show up. We're going to try to show up with some things that everybody can wear that says NAC for that. We're going to try to put our logo on all of these Texas CVB people. But it takes a lot of work to put those submissions together because, I believe you win with how you present yourself because a lot of, so I'm working on gathering the information to make us look good on the work that we've done on that. Other than that, as Sherry said with the strategic planning, that's one thing I was going to ask for this meeting because I'm looking toward July. Within July, I would like to have my next fiscal year's budget pretty well set because, some of those buys have to be placed early, as we know. So if you have any input, it sounds like you'll be brainstorming until that's brought to that meeting, but I would love to know if there's someplace we haven't advertised as far as tourism that you'd like to see or something that you have seen and you've thought, wow, they're doing it really well, I would love to know that. So I think we have some things that are proven that work well for us in this particular destination, but I'm always open to feedback and what we can do new and better. So advertising, mediums, anything, publications, anything that you see that we maybe you think we should try, I would love to hear that. That would be helpful. That's all I have.
Great.
Thank you all.
And Joanna, you have a sales report?
Well, I don't have one in y'all's packet, but I can talk. We did, and I don't have the numbers, but Kelly, in regards to June in general, we had our DIS folks come in. I did supply an economic impact to Sherry on that. That group is going to be someone that we're going to work with a little bit closer. We missed it in a bit. What they need is volunteers, and it's difficult because of the time of year that we have. A lot of the focus as far as youth disappear, but we've talked about other possibilities of how we can help man that and try to bring them in. That is an organized group. Of course, it's the local teams and just teams that come from all over the country. And the point is that there's an organizer out of Dallas, and that's who I'm working with. And so if we can support them, they have their most successful event up in this very small town, gosh, Wisconsin or something. You probably know better. But the reason for the success is the community buy-in from behind. So I'm going to talk to this gentleman. I may even call the folks up there and see, what are you doing? I mean, do we have to have a parade or what? Kidding. But we can figure out some ways to work a little closer with that. And speaking of just kind of sports in general, we did have a meeting with Brian Bray and the gang from SFA as far as soccer. They're looking to bring in a youth soccer tournament on the weekend of Labor Day. And they want to do it Labor Day because it's a week before everyone starts their own season. And this would involve, 200 teams. So it's a matter of not only the select kids and really organized groups, it's also on a level that is youth, just organizations here in town. So it's not necessarily a new model, but it would be new for us. It would be taking advantage of the fields. That was a great meeting. Brian Bray was there as well, and he's the person that overlooks the fields. However, that person is volunteer. There's not a paid position there. Yeah. So
Who's the volunteer?
I have his name. I just don't have it here. But he's truly dedicated. His girls came through it, but his kids are out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he's
Dedicated. Is the word.
dedicated. Let me tell you, we had a really great conversation even after that. But with that in mind, it's like, that situation is only as good as long as the volunteer lasts. And he's been doing it for some time. So again, just kind of going back to what Sherry was talking about, we have these opportunities, but it'll be a matter of, will that be something that's going to be built into their budget? Will we have folks at these facilities where these tournaments can be sustainable, because you have to have staff, things like that. But it's exciting. It's exciting how we're looking at the map and how they cut the field up and how long one field can be. And I mean, it was a pie, but not a very constructed one. It was all kinds of different slices, but it's amazing if it comes through. So I know the intention of the city is to get us back into the sports realm of
That
events.
would be very good.
Oh yeah. And that's a great weekend too, kind of ends the summer very well. We kick it off with the Blueberry and kind of ended up with something like this. So the Blueberry, as far as from what I can report, because I haven't gotten official numbers, and I know Sherry was going to work on that as well. But when I called Super 8, which you got to understand, everybody's personality is a little unique at these places. She was like 80% Blueberry. Oh, I'm going to say 100%. And that particular hotel stays booked. They are the lowest ADR, as Sherry would mention. I mean, they're 55, 60 if we're lucky. But they've consistently been there, and they're booked. But I asked her about her cruise, and she said they went home for a couple of weeks. So it was a perfect time for them to be filled for both those events, for both the disc golf as well as the Blueberry. For her, again, you have to know her personality. It's Alma. She's been there for as long as I've been here. She's kind of deadpan, but she was excited because there were that many Blueberry folks there, and for the weekend.
Yeah.
This is also the first time, and they were sold out for Saturday as well. Now, I've told you, we do get a sellout on Friday, It may not just be because of the bluegrass. It probably is folks wanting to be here early before it gets too hot too.
Well, it's Heritage Weekend too.
Yeah, and Heritage and,
And that camp.
yeah, the
Youth
camp.
Texas football camp.
Right, because that, and that was Friday, they did leave on Saturday. But on Saturday night, it's just Blueberry Festival, so that's why we see a fall off. And they were full, Hampton full, you know, all the South Side were full. I mean, not our two executive, Ian and Magnuson, but when I left last night to go home, every hotel was packed. And I spoke with Kelly on the way home from Hampton. I said, what's going on? She was meeting her, I got some news there too, her owner. But she says it's her 5th day in a row being sold out. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and over the weekend.
Really?
So something's going on. And, but both the Comfort and the Hampton have been sold. So the new, 2 different owners, and they will be, I think tomorrow is their first day. So in that discussion, they might be really good. The owner they've had is a good guy, but he never really wanted to be as active in the community as I hoped. The general managers are great. I've been invited to attend and be a part of their sales meetings once a month. They are involved in this summer promotion. We are, and they wanted me to share all the information with the staff and how we're going to distribute stuff, the incentive that they're putting in place for their front desk people. And then also, they want to try to do some more stuff. I've mentioned to them Sherry's offer about being members of THLA. Southside wants to do meetings. We might be able to get some other folks come down there, but if not, we have few enough properties where we can go to them. And I think summer's the time to do that. We have a large group coming in next week. Tom Gann's Historical Society will be over at the Fredonia. He's out of Lufkin. It's also a great time for me to, you know, put on my calendar for next week a sales blitz. I've got some great people to call on. As far as partnerships here in town, we're working again on the music-friendly destination. Within that, just got to brag real quick, we've got these Seats for Beats promotion. I can go in this another time because I talk too much. But Michelle Filer has taken one of our ugly chairs here down here and has decorated it. And she's giving homage to Dolly Parton, and one of her quotes being, "It costs a lot of money to look this cheap." And so that's her chair.
I've got a question. Can you cut and weld the chairs?
I don't know, we can talk about that. We can talk about that. But as far as, I've got a write-up on what that looks like. I just hadn't made it over to your side of the thing just to take a look at it. But we are having our music-friendly destination meeting, which that means the gentleman that oversees the office out of the Austin entity government office. He's coming July 17th. It's a 6 to 8 event. They're all invited. We're going to have it out at Lug Nuts. Larry's going to cook up some brisket, pork butt, we'll have sandwiches. And afterwards, he explains kind of the value of why we want this destination and how it can help us in tourism and you know, becoming that music entity here in East Texas. We'll do some jams because the folks that are invited are the entertainers, you know, musicians, anyone that owns a venue or anyone's business that involves music. 17. It's a Wednesday, 6 to 8. And you can learn about this guy's really dynamic. I went to the one in Taylor. He's just very good. Get you excited. He's fired up about it. And ultimately what it does, and I think I shared this before, it gives us access to a database that they keep for all communities that are in the state of Texas that participate. So it will help get additional music talent here if we want. It's Texas-driven music. But it's really interesting. And from the partnership with getting Michelle involved, because I needed some artists to help us with this fundraiser, this will just be a little seed money for the music-friendly committee. So if we want to do something that involves anything related to me, we're not putting any constraints on that. We're just taking some ugly chairs and making them pretty. And the purpose will be to drag them around different locations. You can use them for VIPs, just to showcase the art of it, to bring in the art element. I've already met with Crystal Hicks. We're going to use them and have them at the Art Fest. We want some of the people within the art community to participate. They'll be sponsored for $100. Some of them, most of them will be functional. A few will be art pieces where you can't sit on them, and there will be another few that will be actually sold because people want them so bad. But the idea is to take something that we have here in the CVB. We'll house the ones that are functional because we've got a cart for that. And the ones that are purchased will be, and the ones that are, all of them will be sponsored at some point. They'll all be sponsored, but they'll be displayed within entities for a frame period so folks can ask, what does this mean? And ultimately, we have to be that resource. What else? El Camino Real, we're reworking finally after 12 years the brochure for the groups. If you guys don't know, I'm the president of the Caddo region, and this involves Nacogdoches, Sabine County and Parish, Nacogdoches, St. Augustine. This piece will also support anything that happens on the trail. Potentially, they're looking into geofencing. So anybody that comes in the region, they'll be earmarked for all the historical stuff. We'll also be able to use it for the sail on the trail, and then anything else that comes up in the future with GPS coordinates.
What was the term you used,
Geofencing. Don't give me the line. I know enough to be dangerous.
All right.
But I'll tell you about it. It's very cool.
They wanted to do it. They wanted to do a. We met those guys at the when you hosted the lunch.
Yes, yes.
And they wanted to like low jack all of our monuments so that you could kind of you could scavenge your way
Yes.
to like the Oak Grove Cemetery.
Well,
Cool.
and the thing with geofencing, what folks don't realize is that age group is baby boomers. So it aligns itself with the historic, road trips and things like that. They get into it. So, when you talk about the low jack, basically it could be a tube. And Sherry's purchased a lot of things that we can even play with, where you stick a message in there and it's just located there. You pick it up, you read the message, or sign it, or leave something, put it back. It's just so cool and so affordable. And there's also someone here now that works for the radio station that is doing just that.
Yeah, we need to
That's
get
its
somebody who's
function.
really into it in Nacogdoches to just go and like, nerd out and set up all the sites on the GPS because I would imagine it just takes some.
Yeah, you have to do it. I mean, that is a deep culture and they take it very
Yeah.
seriously and you can't play around with it. So it has to be in the exact format to the degree that they want. We
That's
did
why
that
we need
in-
one of them among us.
Yeah, for sure. Because we tried to just sort of do it, shoot from the hip in Conroe and got a lot of
Flack.
blowback from it. Because,
It's serious.
they take it seriously and they're not, it's done for fun. It's recreation and it's entertainment.
They're setting up a serious grid.
That's called geocaching. though,
It's
right?
geocaching.
Yeah.
Geofencing is
It's a marketing.
yeah, you set your geographic parameters to
Yeah.
push your advertising message.
Right.
Okay. All right, anything else, Joanna?
Yeah, I can always talk, but that's good. That's pretty much what I got going on.
And then we have the visitor services report in your materials there for Mike Bay, 823 visitors in May. So that's good from local and far away. And then our executive director.
We'll pass around this Smith travel report. So shooting right to May of 2019, we saw a percentage change. We're up 13.4% from last May, which really helped us come into the black on our year-to-date for 2019. So hopefully that is a trend of more things to come with April and now May being positive.
Which one are we supposed to look at? I remember John always saying, look at a particular line.
RevPAR is revenue per available room. That's always an important one. The very last column, that running 12 months, probably gives you a good indication, a better indication than year-to-date. That goes against our, as counter to our fiscal year. So running 12 months probably for us. encompasses more of our fiscal year. So you can see for 2019, we're, according to Smith, we're up about 5% in our occupancy.
So occupancy's up, but revenue's down? Is that what I heard today?
Revenue's up too.
There's a discrepancy between what we're collecting and what Smith is just how it's, and it's a difference in how the reports are comprised.
It looks like 24%. No, it is the difference in the 5% and the 4.6%.
Yeah.
At least it's a consistent anomaly.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
I like the size of the report too.
Thanks. It's a difficult report to chop up. I've tried that before, so I've just decided to.
There's a lot here, and
This is as small as that can.
Okay.
No, I mean, it has been printed on an 8.5 hour.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. If you went any smaller.
I have had far more confidence in your vision in the past. So, okay, this time last year, board approved contracting with Noland, which is a third-party lead generating service. That contract is up at the end of July, and I have chosen to discontinue and cancel that contract. We just didn't see the return on it, and we tried it, so I thank you for your willingness to provide us with tools and try new things. And while we did get some leads out of it, just not enough to justify the continued expenditure. So that contract has been canceled. Moving forward, and we will focus our efforts elsewhere. As part of the pursuing the Texas Music Friendly Community designation, the meeting that we're having on July 17th is part of a list of requirements that community, as part of the designation, you have to host one of these community meetings so that the state office can come in and advertise, and we invite outside partners to come in so they can learn about the program, and then they can take that back to theirs. Another component, we've formed a committee. We've established we've gone over our database. One of the last things is getting approval of council to pursue this. So on July the 2nd, I'll go in front of mayor and council to get this. Really not even a resolution. I think that's probably more what it's going to look like for our cases. For our case specifically is, but it's just a formal nod of support. So if you would like to be there for that July 2nd meeting, that will be happening. On July 24th, I've been asked to be the speaker at Wednesday Rotary. So I will be doing a presentation on tourism and also utilizing that as an opportunity to educate and recruit for volunteers.
You said July 24th?
Mm-hmm. The fourth Wednesday in July. This year for Blueberry Festival was it was our first go at changing out the die for the penny machine, and there was a lot was learned in that process. And apparently there is a season, a busy season for penny press creation. Anyway, but we do have 4 blueberry designs in the penny machine. That process of swapping out those drums is a full 2 hour and 45-minute process, and that was with a maintenance man from the school district who actually had tools other than a nail file and a letter opener, and knew what he was doing. So I mean, it's a little more labor intensive than I was told initially, but it's not impossible. And I think it proved to be really popular for the Blueberry Festival, and they were really wise in their design choice to make them sort of evergreen and not dated. So that one-time investment, we're going to keep those designs through the end of June because we're still seeing a lot of traffic for people that weren't able to be at Blueberry and they're still interested in it. We'll swap it back out to our original drum of press and then hand the chamber back theirs, and so next year we'll be able to get that up and going. But it was a little bit longer process. The company in Colorado did work with us to expedite the process, and so yeah, that was. Do you have any comments from the chamber on that?
It was popular, and the volunteers that worked the booth thoroughly enjoyed it. So we'll see it back in 2020.
And y'all purchased it?
Well, there was some
Yeah.
Was it joint?
with CVB because, and maybe next year we can start the role here at the Visitor Center in May because we're still promoting it being here too. Getting a lot of comments and
Plan on coming back, so.
reactions that people say, oh, I've seen them, come by and ride it. So, a little bit of a revenue producer too.
Yeah.
So,
I'll be here.
I can take orders and.
I want to
I
see
want to
it
know
make
how much does that make?
it made $300 for the weekend.
Really?
Just
So
for that
it's
one day.
25 cents a, 50 cents, so that's
And
600.
the chamber donated shiny pennies. If they
That's
just came
600.
and put their 2 quarters in, they got a shiny penny to press.
Sweet.
And somebody drove 2 hours just to press the penny because they saw the advertisement. So it's, again, that is a culture and we respect that culture.
Yeah.
Do you
And you know, maybe if we let other groups know that, I was thinking other, you know, the Nine Flags Festival, if somebody wanted to invest in that or, you know,
And maybe
whatever.
not switch out all 4 of them, maybe just switch out one.
Well, you have to. It's,
I learned this too.
Yeah, it's 4. So you can either have one design or you can have, you know, 2, but it's the whole thing. It's a,
They're not individual.
right. It's a drum of all the designs, and you know, and then it's the choice of do you want one-sided or two-sided. One-sided is cheaper than two-sided, and there's a lot of decisions. So I'm still for it. I think it's completely feasible for a group to come in and do it. I think it wound up costing like $765. No,
Well, it was more than
it was more than that.
Yeah, so
It was closer to $1,000. Yeah, about $1,000 for a double-sided, for 4 double-sided designs. But if done correctly and, you know, you're not dating it, then if you're able to use that over and over again, then
And it'll last a long time.
yeah, you can.
Pay for itself in 2 years.
Yeah, and if it's part of your marketing budget, I mean, it's a proven performer, so I think it can work. So we were happy to partner with the chamber on that. And so as we move into this last quarter of our fiscal year, we've spent the first 3 sort of laying systems in place, and we're going to work on just executing the plan and letting it, you know, see where it falls, still making adjustments, looking at our metrics, and adjusting as we can. And I myself am going to be focusing more on staff. HR, City Council just approved a new staff manual through Human Resources, and as a part of that, there's one topic that was addressed was evaluation. So staff will be going through an evaluation process, and that will be on file with HR. So I'm going to come up with our evaluation tool, because how we perform here is a little bit different than maintenance or Parks and Rec. So that's something that is a better indication of the work that we do here. So there'll be an approval process through the city, but that is really, the board here oversees the strategic planning and the direction of the CVB, not necessarily staffing and decisions, except for the executive director. That's the board's input on staffing, but in so much as the evaluation part, that's where we're a part of the city, and so my role as director of the look through what has already been in staff policy on the accrual of comp time, the process of requesting vacation time, and I think just some real pencil and paper kind of things. That's going to be my last quarter. It's looking at policy and evaluation and staff performance, and that'll be how I administratively wind up the year. That's it.
One quick question, Sherry.
Mhm.
Well, probably not, but you mentioned a volunteer call to action. Will there also be like a volunteer kind of training or manual or?
Ideally, yes, but there might be budget constraints to what that looks like. So I'm having to rethink my fancy highfalutin, high-dollar volunteer training.
I liked it. The empower the volunteers, you're gonna keep them, you're gonna attract more.
Yeah, I agree.
Just keep paying.
And really, I'm gonna have to be creative but really not even looking so much at only having volunteers on the weekend, but bringing in volunteers during the week as well. Because we still need desk coverage, we're still a staff of 4. And, that intern position that we have, we're fortunate to have a paid intern position. And I don't want that to solely be stuffing envelopes and answering phones. I really want them to have an experience that is of value when they go out into their chosen career and profession. And answering the phone and fielding visitors, that is something that volunteers can do. And there's plenty of people that would rather have their weekends free and maybe don't even know that it's a possibility to come in and give 2 hours during the week, or if they have a hair appointment or something, they could come in before. And then I understand that. I'm 50 now. I understand the consolidation of your schedule and your time.
So our next meeting, I believe, is scheduled for July the 17th. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be right here. Are there any other comments before we adjourn? If not,
Y'all did a great job.
Thank you.
Yes.
all right.
I appreciate your time.